Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. We join you today from the North Central Research Station at Lahoma for the annual wheat field tour. Our first stop is our annual varieties talk with our Extension small grain specialist, Jeff Edwards.
We're here at Lahoma and we have several wheat varieties. Actually, Jeff, you guys have all of the wheat varieties grown by OSU in the state, right?
We do. At this location, we have 54 wheat varieties, I think. One thing that makes this location a little unique is that here in Chickasha, we have every variety here without a fungicide and with the fungicide. So we can tell what impact a fungicide makes by variety.
What kind of differences are you seeing in the varieties?
Well, we're seeing some fairly large differences this year. As a whole, this is going to be a year for later maturing wheat varieties. Okay. We had some freeze injury early, and that got our earlier maturing varieties. They took it a little harder than some of the later maturing varieties. We've had a fairly cool spring. We had some water, some rainfall that came in time, but a little late. Right. And all of these things have benefited our later maturing varieties. So I think they're going to shine this year. We're also seeing a lot of differences in terms of disease resistance and what effect that fungicide is going to have on varieties like Ruby Lee.
Okay, well let's start with Ruby Lee. What are we seeing?
Well, Ruby Lee is kind of a racehorse variety. Right. And we knew from the day it was released that it never had a strong disease resistance package. So it's a variety, if you plant Ruby Lee, you're locked into a fungicide application more or less. Right. We had a couple of years where diseases weren't that bad. Our growers got a bit lax on that. Ruby Lee acres kind of expanded, and last year it caught a lot of people. This year I think everyone has either stopped growing Ruby Lee or they're still planting it and remain vigilant as far as applying a fungicide. Still a great variety if you're willing to apply a fungicide to keep the stripe rust off of it, but it's going to need a fungicide, and it will be one of those varieties that without a fungicide at this location, you know, maybe 50 bushel wheat here. With the fungicide, it might be 75 bushel wheat.
Is there a part of the state that Ruby Lee works better than another?
It's fairly well adapted across the state. It does not have acid soil tolerance, does not have Hessian fly resistance. So in some circumstances that might hold it back a little bit, but as far as being just well adapted geographically, it does very well.
Okay, let's walk down the way here and look at a couple of other ones. Here's Gallagher.
Gallagher and Iba, they are both the sons of Duster. Gallagher is a few days earlier than Duster. In my opinion, Gallagher's the first variety that we've had that I would call a Duster replacement. Okay. The closest thing to a Duster replacement we have. It has acid soil tolerance just like Duster, excellent forage production. It'll even top Duster in terms of forage production. Grazes well, rebounds from grazing, has Hessian fly resistance, about a 10 to 12% increase in kernel size over Duster, better disease resistance, not as good as something like Billings, but better disease resistance. So it's topped the parent in every way except for one. Duster is a medium maturity variety. In most parts of Oklahoma, that means cattle are going to have to come off around March 1st. With Gallagher, it's going to be 5 to 7 days earlier than that. So really, cattle need to come off of Gallagher about a week earlier, last week of February, than they are off of Duster. So that's one weakness that it has as compared to the parent, but in every other way, I would call it a step up from Duster. Okay. And then we have the other Duster offspring, which would be Iba. Now, Iba is a couple of days later than Duster, a little more late maturing, is not tolerant of acid soil conditions, does not have Hessian fly resistance, but it is a little later maturing, not quite as susceptible to spring freeze injury, good grazing variety, rebounds from grazing very well, and has a little broader area of adaptation. Gallagher, to me, is an Oklahoma wheat, right. Maybe that southern tier of counties into Kansas. Iba will go all the way into the Oklahoma Panhandle. Actually, I've had very good production with Iba under irrigation and dry land in the Panhandle, all the way up into Kansas. So extremely broad area of adaptation.
Now, both of these wheat varieties were released during the heat of the drought.
They were.
And how have they fared during this wetter season?
Pretty well. They both like Duster, Duster is a variety we talk about yield consistency,
right,
in that you can just put it in a variety of circumstances and it does well. It holds its yield, and both of these have done well. You know, in that drought year, I would maybe argue that Iba held on to its yield potential a little better than Gallagher.
Right.
In a wetter year like this, Gallagher may have the advantage.
Okay.
So they balance each other very well.
Okay, and what else do we have?
Oh, Bentley,
Yes.
newest variety. You brought up drought. This is a variety in the OSU varieties that has the best drought tolerance.
Okay.
Very drought tolerant variety, just released. It was been out here a couple of years as experimental OK09125, named after W.D. Bentley, the first director of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service. Very good variety. Primary area of adaptation would be southwest Oklahoma, south of 412. But the way it's looked this year, it's performing very well statewide. Good stripe rust resistance. One weakness it has is leaf rust.
Right.
But the other advantage this one has, medium late maturity, and it does not have duster in the parentage.
Oh, really?
So it does provide some genetic diversity, which can become important.
Right.
So really excited about this variety. Looks good statewide. I'll look for it to top some trials this year.
Okay. And what else do we have?
Last one here in the OSU lineup is Double Stop CL Plus.
Right.
This is a 2-gene Clearfield variety. Double Stop is really neat in that it is a great variety outside of having the Clearfield trait.
Right.
We would have released it even without that. Pretty good disease package. You'll find some stripe rust on it, a little bit of leaf rust, but pretty good disease package. Very good grazing tolerance. It's late maturity. It's going to be about an endurance +1 in terms of maturity. Excellent ability to bounce back after grazing. That 2-gene Clearfield allows you to battle feral rye. Now, not Italian ryegrass,
right,
but feral rye. Important to know the difference there. So the best treatment you can have if you want to go after feral rye would be to go with a year of canola and then rotate to a 2-gene Clearfield variety such as Double Stop CL Plus. We have some growers, for one reason or another, are committed to wheat through grazing or whatever. You can do a pretty good job on feral rye just with the 2-gene Clearfield. It's important to try to make 2 applications of the herbicide on this. Feral rye is really tough to kill. It's going to take 2 applications, in most circumstances 2 applications of beyond, to get the job done. Not a cheap program,
right,
but it can be an effective program, and luckily we've got the right variety with good yield potential that will allow you to do that.
So really 2016 was the year of the later variety.
It is. I think it's going to turn out that way, especially the temperatures we've been having. We've been out here at this field day before, and it's been in the mid to upper 90s, and that's terrible for grain fill and wheat. The other thing that affects grain fill and wheat are the nighttime temperatures. We have what we call maintenance respiration, so the plant's using energy at night, and the hotter it is, the more it uses that does not go into grain fill.
Right.
We have these cool nights. That is excellent for grain fill. So we're setting ourselves up or Mother Nature is setting us up for a really nice wheat crop.
And one other piece of news here at the field day, you're actually going to be able to commit full strength to being a department head.
This will be my final Lahoma field day wheat tour. We have our new small grains extension specialist on board, Dr. David Marburger. We put a nationwide search out, interviewed several candidates, and Dr. Marburger, we selected him. We couldn't be more excited to have him on board. Native of Illinois, coming to us from the soybean and small grains extension program at the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Sean Conley up there, similar pedigree to mine.
Right,
so we're really excited. Dr. Marburger actually is in Wisconsin right now walking the graduation line. We thought that was pretty important for him to be able to do that, but our growers around the state will be seeing a lot more of Dr. Marburger.
Well, Jeff, it's been a pleasure all of these years, and he's the outgoing small grains extension specialist and now the department head of plant soil sciences here at Oklahoma State University.